Hi and welcome to week 5. This week we will make an introduction to the structure dimension of public management. In past weeks we defined public management. We talked about the relationship between public management, public administration and private management. We explored the historical roots of public management, and last week we learned the first principle of public management, that's the rule of law and accountability. This week our subject is going to be James Madison's legacies in the American administrative system. In the past 3 weeks, we will learn more about the structure dimension. So in total, we will spend 4 weeks on the structure dimension. So this is the longest part of our course, and you will learn a lot in the structure dimension. So we will begin with James Madison's legacies. This week, our goals are to analyze the separation of powers and checks and balances. And so it's kind of continuation of what we learned last week, that's the rule of law and accountability. And as a continuation, you will learn separation of powers and checks and balances. We will learn federalism and intergovernmental relations. That's also another important feature of our governmental system. Unlike many other countries in the world, we have a federal governmental system. Many countries in the world have a unitary governmental system, and it's fairly different. And Turkey has a unitary governmental system, and it's very different. The way you interact with government is very different. So we will discuss these differences as well, a little bit, not much. We will define the role of the people in the governmental structure in the US, and we will talk about the vulnerabilities of our governmental institutions. So that's also a very important aspect. We always talk about the strengths of our system. We talk about the democracy, accountability, and things like that, things in that nature. However, there are vulnerabilities of our system as well. So we will explore these vulnerabilities a little bit. And finally, we will analyze the constitutional logic of governance in Madisonian governance scheme and how it's related to structure, culture, and craft dimensions of public management. So we will set the ground for further discussions on the structure dimension, and also try to connect the current American governmental structure to the culture and craft dimensions of public management as well. So this week is a fairly important week in that sense. To accomplish these goals, you will do a few things. You will read chapter 4 from our textbook, and you will read a couple articles, and you will read 3 Federalist papers. The articles that you will read, the first article that you will read is Rosenblum's 1983 article. I have to say that I made a little change in the required readings list. So in the syllabus, one of the required readings was Wilson's chapter from his famous book Bureaucracy. I took that chapter out of the required readings list, and I put this Rosenblum's 1983 article to our required readings list. This article was in the recommended reading list, so there's not much difference, and also this is a shorter article than Wilson's book chapter. So this is a very good article. It talks about the separation of powers and how it's related to the public administration theory in the US. In addition to that, you will read another article by Lawrence Lin. As you know, Lin is one of the authors of our textbook, and this article was published in 2011 in the Public Administration Review special issue. Public Administration Review is the most prominent journal in the public administration field in the US. That's the journal published by the American Society of Public Administration. And in this special issue, scholars from different backgrounds, they discussed the importance of the Federalist papers in the American administrative system, American public administration. And in the specific article, Lin talked about Federalist paper 51 and discussed whether liberty is guaranteed by the structure. So this is a very important article for understanding how structure and one of the core values of our political system, liberty, are related to each other. So that's a very important article. And if you like, you can read other articles in this special issue as well. If you would like to read, send me an email and I will share these articles with you and not include all of them in our recommended readings list. And in addition to these 2 articles, you will read 3 Federalist papers. You will read Federalist paper 47, Federalist paper 48, and Federalist paper 51. These Federalist papers are very important for this week's lecture, for this week's topic. So when you read them, you will understand how structure is formed by James Madison's legacies. And these readings are fairly short, only 2 to 3 pages, maybe 4 pages at most. So it's going to be an easy reading for you. Okay, so that's all this week in terms of our reading material. As an assignment, you will do a discussion this week, and in this week's discussion, you will analyze a case in the end of the assigned book chapter, chapter 4. I ask you guys to buy this public administration cases book this year. This is the first time I'm using this book. This is an interesting book that has a lot of important cases, interesting cases, but not all cases in this book are relevant to our subject, so we will use only a few of them. In some weeks we will use cases from our textbooks, Hill and Lynn's textbooks, cases, and in some other weeks we will use cases from other sources that I bring in, and in some weeks we will use cases from this book. The reason why I ask you guys to buy this book is because we cannot scan and provide you multiple chapters, multiple cases from this book. It will be a violation of copyright, so I ask you to buy it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to use the entire book for the course of this course. That's all for this week. So you have few readings and a discussion posting as usual, and our subject is a very important, interesting subject, and it's going to set the ground for our future lessons on the structure dimension, and also it will relate structure dimension to culture and craft dimensions as well. So that's all for this week, and I hope you will enjoy the content of this week, and please let me know if you have any questions, and have a great week. Take care.